Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the lab walkthrough video for investigating properties of different compounds. So at this point, you should know the background information is full of very useful information, and you have some questions on it. So based on what you read, the first part is to compare the conductivity of the three different types of bonds, and then to compare the solubility of the three different types of bonds. Again, everything comes from that paragraph. So at your station, you're going to find a bin that looks like this. You'll have a conductivity meter in a bag, two plastic cups labeled A and C, and one labeled B. You'll have a 25 ml graduated cylinder. You will have a stirring rod, a scooper, and our three unknown samples labeled A, B, and C. So our first test is to look at the physical properties of the substances that you have. So you can open up each sample, touch it, look at it, get a good look at it, close it up. So you'll do that for all of your samples, and then see. Your next test, test number 2, is conductivity in the solid state. So for this, you're going to need to use your conductivity meter. So take it out of the bag. At this point, it should be off. So off is anything ranging from this to that. So to turn it on, you'll put the switch inside the coil there. And just to make sure that it is on and working, you can touch the two copper ends together and you should get that super bright green bulb. If your conductivity meter does not work, give it to your teacher and they can grab you a new one. So to test the conductivity of each thing, you can just pop open the containers and stick both ends into the sample. So for A, this is what happens. Close that up. For B, you can do that. And then for C, it may be easier if you take your sample out of the little container, throw it on the table, and then observe what happens there. So that is test number 2. Moving on to test number 3 is solubility in water. So what you're going to do, you're going to use your graduated cylinder and take a trip over to the sink, and we're going to get approximately 25 mils. It does not need to be perfect. Approximately 25. We're going to pour that into 1 cup and take 25 mils and put it into our other cup. Once that is done and you have your 2 cups, take sample C and throw it in the cup labeled C. Spoiler alert, nothing happens. You can take that off and dry it. What you're going to do then is take your scoop and take a small sample. So again, this is sample A. We're going to put it in cup A. And so a small scoop looks like this. Small amount. Dump that into A. Take your stirring rod and stir vigorously for about 30 seconds. When you're done with that, you'll do the same thing with B. Again, open it up. Take a small scoop and throw it into the cup labeled B. Throw it in there and do some stirring. After you've stirred both cups for about 30 seconds, look at them and see if your mystery substance has dissolved and whether or not it is soluble in water. Now, once that is done, just make sure everything is covered. On top, this goes in here. When you're recapping stuff, make sure everything matches, that the top and the container match. So to test in the conductivity in the aqueous form, so test number 4, we're going to go back to using our conductivity meter. And we're only going to use this for substances that dissolved. So we're not going to use this for substance C because it did not dissolve. Again, make sure your meter is on. And you're going to put let's do B first. Put both ends into the cup. Make sure the copper ends are far away from each other. And look at the brightness of the bulb. So here we have a kind of dim bulb. Now, when you have water, especially water from the sink, you already have ions in the water that exist naturally. So even though the substance itself might not be a conductor, you may get that dim light bulb. But when you throw it into cup C, you should be able to see a difference in the brightness of the bulb. So bright bulbs are good conductors, dim bulbs are poor conductors. And so that is it for all of your data collection. For cleanup, what you're going to do is take your cups, give it a nice swirl and a rinse, both cups, and make sure all of your caps are on. We're going to throw everything back into your bin, your stirring rod, your scoop, your graduated cylinder, your 2 cups. Super important, make sure that you turn your conductivity meter off by just popping that switch up, throwing it back into your bag, and leaving it like that. So once you've filled out your table and you've conducted all 4 tests, cleanup is super important. So make sure at this point everything is cleaned up before you even consider moving on. Now, based on the background information and the questions you had there, you should be able to identify substances A, B, and C as either an ionic, covalent, or metallic bond. The metallic bond one is going to be a lot easier to identify, but the ionic and covalent you should be able to identify based on the results of all 4 tests. Lastly is this question, and you have this picture to base it on. So answer it as best as you can and explain why ionic compounds can conduct electricity in the aqueous form, but not in a solid form. So the question gives you everything that you need to know. That is this week's lab. Have fun.